Hello, I'm Jack Grady, and on behalf of the Archives and History Committee of our First Baptist Church on the Square in LaGrange, Georgia, we welcome World War II veteran James Edward Brown, and we thank him for his service to our country and to our church, and to our, I should say, to our community as well, because he served, in later years, he served as a principal of a school here in LaGrange, Georgia. Well, Ed, thank you so much for your willingness to come and visit and talk a little bit about your World War II experience. You know, you stop and think about it, it was almost, well, a little over 70 years ago when it started. And you came along a couple of years later, I guess, about 1943, when you were of age to enlist. Did you enlist on your own, volunteer, or were you drafted?
No, I was drafted, and I had thing worked out to join the Air Force, but they wasn't taking any.
Weren't taking any in the Air Force at that time?
For 2 months.
2 months.
And I went on to Fort Eustis, Virginia, and I got in there and got my regular...
Your basic training?
Basic training.
Yeah.
And I went from there to Xavier University.
Xavier?
2 months. And I got credit for it, and I got out of the Army after the war, and I went to get my credit from the University of Georgia. They tested me, and I got a whole quarter's work.
Full quarter of work from your Air Force, or...
Yeah.
Was it Air Force or was it Army? I know
it was Air Force. Back after 2 months, I applied for Air Force and got it.
I see.
So that way, I could.
You got credit for your college experience there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And where did they send you from there?
Sent me to Texas, and. I guess there wasn't as many lost in the Air Force as they expected, because they put all of us that transferred from the ground forces into the Army.
Okay.
Regular basic Army.
Yes.
And I got going there. And they sent me to Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah. And I got credit for my work there. And I remember one day I was getting my clothes up laundry, and somebody came in and said, "What you doing?" I said, "Getting my clothes ready to go to the laundry." He said, "Put them back in that box. You're not going nowhere except overseas with 1382nd Engineer Petroleum." And so
engineering patrol, what do you call it?
Engineer Petroleum.
Petroleum. Oh, okay.
And so I got as far as I could go, and stayed in the Air Force and went to Los Angeles. A whole bunch of us that had been in the Air Force.
Sent you to the West Coast, getting ready to ship out, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And got on a ship there and went west, down underneath, below Australia.
Oh, okay.
And stopped at Melbourne, Australia, and got off of the ship and got a march in town for exercise. got back on the ship. They got refueled the ship and everything, and went up to Bombay, India.
Bombay, India.
And they changed the name of that now. I don't know what they call it.
Well, I'm right offhand, I'm not sure either. But
Anyway.
let me ask you this: what kind of ship did you go? I was in the Navy, so I'm interested in knowing about that.
It was
Must have been a transport, a large transport, was it?
It was a troop ship,
Yeah. Okay.
and
Well, that was a long voyage, all the way across the South Pacific,
it was.
Australia, and then up to India.
We're from Australia, from up to Bombay.
Hmm.
They had planes flying over us and destroyers running around us.
Destroyer escorts, I guess.
Because,
yes.
yeah, because the
Protecting.
Japanese had submarines in the Indian Ocean.
Now,
And,
this was what year?
I can't remember.
43, probably.
No, it was before then.
42.
Could have been
Yes.
41. But anyway, I got to Bombay and went across India on a troop ship,
Hmm.
troop train.
Troop train.
Yeah, I reckon that's what it was. Because
Yeah,
it sure
probably
didn't act
was.
like it,
Yes.
and had plenty of lost memories, and got over to the China-Burma, India border,
Hmm.
and went down on a ship and went up on a
Ship.
anyway,
Was this a train then?
yeah,
Troop train?
and troop train, and we stopped at every wide spot in the road all the way across India,
Yeah.
and there's a famine going on in India at that time.
Oh, famine.
And they bring the babies out, and you look at them, they look like they're starved to death.
Oh, my goodness.
And they hold them up to the window
Want food.
for food.
Mm.
And all we had to eat was K rations.
K rations, yeah.
So it just bothered me.
Well, certainly, yes.
And so I always gave them half of mine.
Did you? Well, I'm not surprised that you would do that, yes.
And I was glad I could do it. But
Sure.
when we got almost across India, I stopped giving it away.
Mm.
And the economy outside had picked up some too.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And anyway, I was getting mighty hungry,
I bet.
not having much to eat,
Mm.
but I felt good about giving it away.
Yes, sure.
And so then we went down into Burma in the jungle.
The
And,
jungles of Burma.
yeah, and one time we came from China into Burma and had a long stay in Burma, about 6 to 8 months
Mm.
in the jungle
Wow.
during the monsoon season.
You were in tents, were you?
Yeah,
Camping out, you might say, in tents in Burma, in the jungle.
right.
Wow.
And come back out into India, and everything that we got over in China went on a ship, an airplane,
Mm.
because there wasn't any other way to get anything over there.
Yes.
And we tried to keep it alive, and that was a very hard thing to do.
Oh, I can imagine. What kind of military action, were you involved in there when you were in the jungle area?
Well, we had to have a carbine stripped over our back.
Carbine.
The small rifle.
Yeah.
You're familiar with it, I
Yes.
guess. And so we had to wear that thing all the time. But I never did kill a Jap.
You were prepared.
I was ready.
You were ready and trained for it.
Yeah. And so it's we had to load the planes going over to China, and the only way we get into China was through I can't remember.
Was that when you did you go over the Himalayan mountains?
Yeah, we'd fly over. When we loading up a plane, and the pilot would say, if there was not another plane to be loaded, the pilot would say, well, go with us. And he'd let two of us go. And I don't know how many times I flew over the Himalayan mountains.
They called it the hump, I believe.
Oh, yeah, called it the
Flying
hump.
over the hump. And that was a little tricky, I guess, getting it.
It was.
You had a loaded plane with provisions, I guess, and personnel.
Food and
food and
ammunition
men.
and everything they needed over there.
And you were taking it to our people? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then when they would get over the hump, they would find a place to land.
we had a dirt runway over there.
Oh, a dirt runway, yeah.
And
Okay.
we had the monsoon season went over into China. And that runway was down in the valley, and up here was clouds, and the plane could not come in. He didn't know where the runway was, so he couldn't come in till it cleared off and dried out. It was still a dirt road.
So how did you deliver your load?
Well, we just couldn't carry it then. Couldn't get across.
But I mean, how did you get to the destination and drop? Did you drop food or provisions from the plane as you flew over? Did you do some of that?
No, tried that and they'd tear it up.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. But anyway, I got back. Excuse me. And we got back. I tell some of the boys I said, we were trying to get over the hump and going around and around like this. Excuse me.
It's all right.
And getting through. And one of the engines went out.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was standing behind the pilot and the co-pilot, and I said, I guess if we up here, the other engine goes out, we'll be up here all afternoon. But it didn't.
Oh, man.
It never did go out either.
Never did go, yeah. Fortunately.
That's right.
Thank the good Lord.
That's right.
Oh, me.
And
So you were in, first of all, in India, then Burma, and in China. So you were the whole theater of the war.
right.
They called it the China, Burma, India theater of operations, I think.
Yeah.
I know that because I had a brother who was there as well.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Tell us a little more about that.
Well, one time the pilot says, we're going down to Burma now. You want to go with us? And I said, yeah. And so a guy from Boston and me, the two that went. And we got down to Burma, and on a runway that had shell holes around over it, and he guided that thing coming.
Looking for a safe place to land.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it wasn't a safe one, but he went on and landed anyway, and and missed all those shell holes.
Gee whiz. Well, it was a bumpy ride, I bet. Anyway.
It was. And going back to India from Burma, that guy from Boston, he wanted to sit down, and on these planes delivering stuff, they never did have a door on them, wide.
Like a Bombay.
Yeah.
Didn't have a big opening.
It had a big opening on it.
Right.
So after we unloaded the plane, got back on it, and took off, he got over there and sat down right. Here's the one opening here, the one over there, and he'd sit there and hold it. And you could see the trucks on the ground force. And they looked like about that long.
I'm sure, yeah. These were,
And the thing that jumped,
these were Army trucks, military vehicles, and so on.
And then those planes, they hit a air pocket or something, and they'd jump around. And we never thought about that thing could jerk around and we could fall out.
And you didn't have a parachute?
No parachutes, no nothing.
Wow.
And I never thought anything about it.
Yes.
Until,
young and adventurous.
right.
Yes.
And I will never forget that trip back,
I'm sure.
because we were in a plane that was shaking around.
Treacherous.
And I've met a boy that I was in high school with, and he went in the Air Force before. And he fed the mules.
The mules.
Mules. They had mules over there.
Pack animals, I guess.
Yeah.
Pack mules.
Right.
Okay.
Because they were so hard life in Burma in the jungle, you couldn't carry much on your back.
Yes.
But those mules they brought over there, they could carry 200-300 pounds of something.
You say they brought them over there? Did they bring them over there from the United States?
Yeah.
Oh, they transported them all the way to the China-Burma, India theater. Mules.
Mostly in Burma,
Burma.
because that's where most of the jungle was.
Jungle warfare.
Yeah.
And the mules were there to help transport the equipment and the supplies. Pack mules.
We didn't have any mules in my outfit.
Okay, but when you were on the planes, you saw how they were supplied in the area.
Yeah.
Where
They
the mules
came
were.
over on a ship from California and got to having more mules and more help. And this boy from Ohio knows Boston. He wasn't afraid of nothing. But I thought about that. Yeah, and I was never going to sit down right there and look out down there. Ain't nothing over here to catch a hold to. And you can't reach up there fast enough, high enough.
Yes.
And that scared me.
Well, sure. Certainly it did.
And if you fall out that door open, then that's too bad. You're gone.
Now, they had that opening there for the drop of supplies, I guess was the purpose of that opening.
They had sacks of grain,
Okay.
and he would put it over there right at the door and watch the pilot, and when the pilot gave him a signal, he'd push it out.
Push it out.
And so it was
Now, was this part of the food supply?
that's for the meals.
Or for the mules? That was all together.
I guess they probably threw out some something for the troops down there too.
Yes, I wondered about that.
They must have. I'm not sure, because that's a different outfit.
And they could also, I suppose, deliver that way some of the military supplies or whatever,
Yeah.
ammunition or whatever they needed.
Yeah, they carry a lot of stuff on those ships, planes.
Well, I've heard others talk about flying over the hump, and those are the Himalayan mountains, and you were there, and you flew over that hump on a number of occasions.
Yeah, just for the ride.
Just for the ride. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you a while ago what probably was one of the most memorable experiences you had, and that may be it. Flying over the hump and dropping grain to the mules.
Yeah, that boy was in high school with me.
Oh, I see.
And
so you knew him before your military service?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another guy, ever heard of Alford School?
Alford? Oh, Wolford?
Alford.
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 No, I guess not.
Well, the principal of that was on a plane. He made trips back and forth over the hump and into Burma and whatever. And he was, I knew him from being in the United States.
I see. Okay.
And so that was a big experience.
I'm sure.
But
well, altogether, about how long were you in that China, Burma, India area?
I guess
2 years?
Something like that.
About 2 years?
Yeah.
And where were you when the war ended, when you got the message, heard that the war had ended?
Oh, I was on, one time we had a meeting of the whole group, and one of the captain was saying, we're going to start taking y'all to a rest area. And a boy sitting from Texas sitting by me, and another one, I've forgotten where he was from, but anyway, we got I can't think of what I wanted to say again.
But it has to do with the end of the war.
Yeah.
I guess. Did he share with you information about military action that was ending the war?
Oh, I know what it was. It was when we got to listening to each other and talking back and forth and telling things. It was ones that had been different from the rest of us. And that was one of the best things that we had was hearing about the GI Bill that was going to...
Oh, you got information about that while you were there in the jungle.
Yeah,
the GI Bill, and that meant a lot to thousands of service people, men and women. And you, when you came home, I'm sure took advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, I went to University of Georgia.
University of Georgia.
So that's what meant so much to me.
Oh, I'm sure.
For my lifetime, the future of my life.
You were an educator. And tell us a little bit about your experience here in LaGrange. I know you were a school principal. Tell us what school and what you did.
Well, I started out with... I first came here as a lab technician for LaGrange. What used to be I can't think of what I wanted to say.
It's all right.
But anyway.
You came here as a lab technician.
Yeah.
For this company?
Yeah. The dairy thing.
Okay. Had to do with agricultural
Yeah.
science or something along that line.
So my wife was a teacher, home ec teacher, and she taught in Troop I
Yes.
30-something years. And
30-something years.
yeah, and I got into Troop I as a teacher
Troop High School.
for 9 years
Okay.
as a I can't think of what, chemistry and physics.
Physics,
Yeah,
chemistry, and physics. Wow. Yeah.
I taught
You
both
taught
of
chemistry and you taught physics.
those.
Okay. For 9 years you were doing that.
Yeah. Then I went to Hillcrest
Hillcrest
Elementary
Elementary School
School, and I was up there 18 years
as principal.
as principal,
Yes.
and that was a great experience
Oh,
too.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And when I left Hillcrest, I was not fired, I retired.
You retired.
Yeah.
You were ready, I bet, too.
About that time I was ready.
Well, let me ask you this. I bet you today, if you meet somebody on the street, they'll know your name. But with all of those children, you couldn't remember them, I'm sure.
No,
Maybe some of them, but they all knew you.
yeah,
Because you were Mr. Brown, school principal.
yeah, that's, they recognize me today.
Today, yeah, that's what I said. You meet them on the street and they speak to you.
Yeah.
How are you, Mr. Brown? And you say what?
I say, well, I'm doing good. How are you? And they want me to tell them what their name is a lot of times,
Do they?
and I
They're
can't do
testing you.
that. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, Ed, your experience in the military certainly was significant, and we appreciate all you did. You put your life on the line there, and I know that was a long way from home in China, in Burma, in India. And I can't imagine flying over the Himalayan mountains with an airplane load of grain for mules. Well, that's quite a story. But you'll never forget it.
No.
Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, no, I can't think of anything
Okay.
else.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Best wishes. Let me say this to you. I want to thank Paul Barnes. I call him our technical expert. He's doing the recording, and when he gets through here, he's going to make several copies of this interview. At least two of them, he'll give to Julia Dyer, who is the chairman of our Archives and History Committee, as you know, and he will also make a copy for you to keep, so that you can. And these two that he gives to Mrs. Dyer, they'll keep up there in the Heritage Room, where the Archives and History Committee maintains its records and so on for the church. And they'll be there for people, if they wish to come in and review, look and see what kind of an experience you had during World War II, some amazing experiences that you've outlined for us. And people like next month or next year or years to come would have that access to those records. So
That's good.
yeah, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you. Best
Thank
wishes
you.
to you.
I hate to have made such a mess of it.
Oh, you haven't. You haven't. You're doing fine. And I know you're enjoying living out at Vernon Woods, retirement community. Nice place. Beautiful
And I
place.
lost my wife to leukemia,
Yes.
and there's no cure for that
Right.
if you have a real case of it.
Yes. Yes. She was a sweet lady.
She was,
And she was a teacher for 30 years.
yeah, a little over 30. I've
Yeah.
forgotten exactly how many, 33, I believe.
Yes. Barbara.
Barbara,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you again.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yes, sir.